Mr. Stokes pratted happily on, and Jenny began daydreaming. It was warm and getting warmer, and the crickets rasped loudly in the damp recesses of the pine grove. A blue jay was screaming protestations not far away. "Screech, screech, screech," he repeated with firm resolution, determined to achieve an immediate settlement of his difficulties. The slow, plodding clop of a tired farm wagon drifted almost aimlessly down the street. Suddenly, a lovely burst of fragrance filtered into the room. Apple blossoms, shaken by a passing breeze, brightened the schoolhouse. She followed the scent across the school hall as it drifted past each row of students. A ripple of discontented shuffling accompanied its passage. Passing visually through the rows again, Jenny turned to find the cold, gray, stoic eyes of Jefferson Davis beating down from the crepe-draped portrait nailed prominently to the front wall. He gazed silently high above the chalkboard, as he had been gazing since December 6, 1889. "Well," Jenny admitted to herself, he certainly looked distinguished, but also a bit tired, complacent, and lamentful in his drab-dressed uniform and faded accoutrement. An unreasonable yet uncontrolled scowl raced across Jenny's face. Turning away from the picture, she met the direct glare of Mr. Stokes' all-seeing eyes. They drilled her back into reality, even as he droned incessantly on with his lessons. "In fact," he continued, acknowledging Jenny's attention, "we might say that the plantation days were the most gracious, most splendid, most enlightened." "But just wait a minute," Jenny objected suddenly. "Didn't they wear corsets back then?" The class sat stunned, poised for a surprised, breathless moment, and then burst into irreverent giggles. Mr. Stokes looked rather pained and somewhat confused. "Really, Jenny, a young lady of deportment never interrupts a speaker. Rule number 16, you'll recall," basted the teacher, "and your question is really most improper." "You said this was a discussion, albeit most one-sided," Jenny reminded him. "But if they wore corsets—" Giggles again. Mr. Stokes, red-faced and flustered, demanded, "What do corsets have to do with anything?" "Well, if they wore corsets, they just couldn't have been all that enlightened after all. It's just not possible," she continued above the din of laughter. "Maman Favors told me that she almost nearly fainted whenever she had to wear one." Feeling the need to regain control of his classroom, the tired educator tapped with impatient fingers on the edge of the desk. "Jenny, you're talking absolute nonsense. Please don't interrupt again." Jenny, momentarily stifled, allowed her eyes to wander over the 12 girls and 7 boys that made up her educational ensemble. The girls were thin, in bright spring frocks with bare arms and legs. The boys reclined and slumped in faded blue overalls. Finally returning to herself, she examined her pale bare legs, finished off with knitted socks and leather shoes. Her long gray dress, splattered with the morning's difficulties, draped her frame. At age 12, there was certainly no need of balbriggans here. "Well, I just don't see why—" "I don't wish to hear any more, Jennifer Stanhill," boomed the irritated professor. Suddenly, almost uncontrollably, but to no one's surprise, Jenny found herself rising, her stubbornness and impatience gathering steam with each passing second. She announced firmly, "No, Mr. Stokes, and there's no good to come of my hearing any more either. If those hateful, selfish, stuffy old unchristian slave owners wore corsets, and they didn't have to, then it's plain to see they were not so very enlightened after all, and I can't be bothered with hearing any more about them. So, such being the case, I guess I'll just have to remove myself. Good day." She grabbed her satchel again and strode haughtily out of the room. Breezing down the tight, crooked staircase, she slammed the creaky wooden door, majestically announcing to that lazy, dusty corner of the world that Jennifer Stanhill had a mind of her own, and no one was going to constrain or repress the free expression of it.